Conversation I was having with a group of people, the comment was made that we serve a supernatural God. And that got me to thinking that you would think with just God that would encompass everything. But the person who made the statement was in fact correct. There is in fact many references in the Bible that actually says that God is a supernatural God. And I thought, well, how many of us really understand or stop and think about what we say, and more importantly, what we say we believe? And of course, this is, the picture of God in one of the many forms. This is the judgment side. Then, when you think of supernatural, you could also think of poltergeist, ghost, right? Many think that in certain meetings and in crusades that the supernatural is the pathway to miracles. No. So I think we ought to sometimes define what it is that we say, because what we say often reflects, the old proverb, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So when you look at supernatural, I found it interesting. It also means to submit. Isn't that odd? So, it has, number one, a meaning of manifestation or event attributed to some force behind scientific understanding or the laws of nature. A supernatural being. The paranormal, psychic, magic, magical, occult, mystic, mystical, superhuman, supernormal, right? Or another one is unnaturally or extraordinarily great. That's an interesting one. Supernatural, plural, noun, supernaturals, manifestations or events considered to be supernatural in origin, such as ghost. Okay. So we know that the term supernatural, first of all, comes from the root word submit. I find that interesting. But we know that, in essence, what it's saying, it's either something that has super emphasis on abilities, right? Okay, I can dig that. So when we talk about God, isn't it interesting that it also has a root in the word submit? So if we call, like the expression said, we serve a supernatural God, well, then let's define God, right? God is a noun, right? Let's see, in Christianity and other monotheistic religions, by the way, Christianity is not monotheism, anything but that's for another discussion. In essence, it's the creator, the ruler of the universe, and the source of all moral authority, the supreme being, the chief kahuna, no one above it, right? Him, her, whatever. Synonyms are the Lord, the Almighty, the Creator, the Maker, the Godhead. Explained that. Yeah, all right. So, anyway, in certain other religions, a superhuman being or spirit worship as having power over nature or human fortunes. A deity, a moon god, right? A deity, goddess, divine being, celestial being, divinity, immortal, avatar, sacrifices to appease the gods, an image, an idol, an animal, or other object worship as divine or symbolizing God. Well, hell, we all been a part of that. Okay, let's go on. Idol, graven image, icon, totem, talisman, fetish, juju, wooden gods used as conventional personifications of fate. You ever heard this one? He dialed the number and the gods relenting got through at once. Lastly, an adored, admired, or influential person. How many movie stars, rock stars, hell, presidents that haven't been worshipped as gods. I know the last one was. In fact, if you remember the Time magazine, if any of you saved that, they actually called him the Messiah. Didn't turn out so well, did it? Always happens that way. All right, so now we know what the word supernatural is, and we got a good foundation of what God means. Yoda said it best. You must unlearn what you have learned. And you know, I have a lot of people writing me. In fact, sometimes it gets a little overwhelming that are having a very difficult time because the light bulb has gone off. And the things that they took for granted in their worship, in their core beliefs, are now being shattered by the knowledge that is coming to light. So this is a lesson for all of us. I am still unlearning. No one's exempt. But here is, I think it comes down to this, folks. Birth as death is an evolution. Now, the religious folks have so demonized the word evolution, attaching it to Darwinism, which is not the case at all. It is a law of nature itself, of the universe, folks. Everything evolves. Evolution is exactly us, now, time, everything. It evolves. And your birth, as your death, is an evolution of your soul. Speaking of which, let's get into this. So, as we heard the saying, we serve a supernatural God. Now here I'm taking a verse out of John 4:24. It says, God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Now on the surface, that seems very innocuous, does it not? Hey, nothing wrong with that. But it's when you start trying to define. So we've defined God. Let's define spirit, and then we're going to need to define truth, right? So spirit, an animating or vital principle held to give life to physical organisms. Okay. I think, therefore I am. I think. Hello, Moody Blues. Anyway, 2, a supernatural being or essence such as Holy Spirit, a soul, an often malevolent being that is bodiless but can become visible, specifically like a ghost, a demon. A malevolent being that enters and possesses a human being. You know, folks, if you just stop right there and take that, it shows that our species is under attack, have been. And for the most part, we've been held prisoner and captive. This shows it right here. Because how do you fight an unseen entity that can take possession of you? Huh? Now you want to know where all the juju, jojo, and all the other stuff that people over the millennia have tried to protect themselves. Let's go on. Temper a disposition of mind or outlook, especially when vigorous or animated in high spirits. You know, I tell people all the time, nightclubs, liquor stores, bars, there's a reason why they call alcohol spirits. Think about it. All right. The immaterial, intelligent, or sentient part of a person. There you go. The activating or essential principle influencing a person acted in a spirit of helplessness, an inclination, impulse, tendency of a specific kind, a specific attitude or frame of mind. When you begin to really get in and focus in on words, it really starts to reveal a picture that most of us had no idea existed, and when we see it, most of us don't like it. So poltergeist, definition, a ghost or supernatural being. There we go again. Supernatural being. Supposedly responsible for physical disturbances such as loud noises and object thrown around. Now, we got to look at this a little bit more. So we got a good idea of spirits, poltergeist. So the last one is truth. Boy, do we not hear that all the time. I'm in search of truth. I want to know the truth. What actually happened, right? Well, we're going to see that. So truth is defined the body of real things, events, and facts. Actuality. The state of being, the case, a fact. The transcendent, fundamental, or spiritual reality. The transcendent, fundamental. A judgment, proposition, or an idea that is true or accepted as true. Truths of thermodynamics. The body of true statements and propositions. The property of being in accord with fact or reality. True. Fidelity to an original or a standard. True. Sincerity in action, character, and utterance. Fidelity. Consistency. In accordance with facts. So that's truth. Now, if sorry about that. If we know that this is the case, so let's now define what spirit, soul, and body is. Spirit, faith, gifts of the Spirit, supernatural senses. There's that word, supernatural. The soul, the emotion, fruit of the Spirit, will, reason, thought, mind, desire, personality, right? And then, of course, the body. It's consciousness, folks. So getting back here to the concept of God, this supernatural deity, malevolent but yet judgmental. Anyway, supernatural. One, of or relating to things that cannot be explained according to natural laws. Well then, what are natural laws? Right? Because here's why, folks, once you understand and you begin to expand your knowledge and you begin to factor in the observable laws, which we call the natural laws, things begin to get better in perspective. So what are the laws? Well, number one, the natural laws have implicit what they call ceteris paribus conditions. In other words, natural laws assume that no other natural or supernatural factors are influencing with the operations that the laws describe. So what we call the lack of uniformity. Now, that's why they're still trying to work on the grand unified theory, but this is not that. So we have Faraday's law, right? This has to do with electromagnetism. We have the first law of motion, which is the first law of Newton's law. Every body remains in a state of rest or uniform motion, constant velocity, unless it is acted upon by an external unbalanced force. This means that in the absence of a non-zero net force, the center of mass of the body either remains at rest or moves at a constant speed in a straight line. This tendency is also known as inertia. It's a law. The second law of motion, or known as the Newton's second law, the rate of change of momentum of an object is proportional to the applied unbalanced force in the direction of the force. It's natural law, right? So Newton's second law of motion, here it is. Total force, total mass, acceleration. That's what happens. Conservation of momentum. According to Newton's third law, every action has an equivalent reaction in the opposite direction. Folks, this is what it is. It comes down to this. You, me, all of us that are of the Homo sapien species, we are the supernatural beings. It's been the thing that the gods, or the God, however you want to frame it, has been most afraid of. That moment in time, and they know it's coming. They've known it, they have feared it, and I sense it is here now. That's why you're listening to this. That's why I am where I'm at. We are the supernatural beings. And I'll tell you, folks, when the day comes that the greatest percentage of our species comes to this realization, oh, folks, it will be noted in the universe. And it will be a day of great celebration for our species. I dare say for the world itself. The animal kingdom, the plant kingdom will be rejoicing as well. We are the supernatural beings. And it comes down to this. Maybe this is why there has been no record of any kind, of any God, in any physical form for over 3,000 years, maybe longer. You know why? Because the student now has become the master. They left, and if they're here, they're hiding in fear. My challenge, if they are here, show themselves. Because unless you really are nothing more than a fraud, and you try to trick us with some sort of this mind spell, this God spell, then you don't exist. You see, folks, we understand laws now. We understand that the universe has laws. We know that our past has been erased, attempted, I think, purposely, and by nature, but it has. So I'm going to leave that with you. Think about it. We'll talk again. Be kind to one another.